Bom dia a todos. Good morning, everybody. Quero dizer que é um grande prazer, uma honra poder estar aqui hoje, do lado desse cara aqui, que eu sou fã há muito tempo. Good morning. Thank you for giving me the pleasure to be here with you. It's an honor for me, because I'm a big fan of yours for a long time already, for many, many reasons. And to have this opportunity to speak a little with you and to talk about all the work you guys have been doing here, it's a great pleasure.
Well, first of all, it's a great pleasure to be here. And as I said already several times in the past, that it is great to be in Sao Paulo again. And it is such a beautiful city. I mean, and Brazil is definitely one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and I've been all over the world. So it's always a great pleasure to come back to this great, great place with great weather, great sceneries, beautiful people, wonderful people. I always get received with open arms here. And so this is now, I think, the 7th time that we have had the Arnold Classic Sports and Fitness Festival here.
To start, so tell us what motivates you to continue this true sport crusade through this world and the event and the world range, which became the Arnold Classic.
When I became a bodybuilding champion many, 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 many years ago, before you were born, I can tell you that, it was all more about how can I get the biggest body? How can I get the most muscular body? How can I become the best and all that? The best of all times. But then at one point you realize that now you have to turn this whole thing around, and now you have to not just lift the weight, but you have to lift the whole sport. And so I felt like it was my mission, and I was really created to put in this position to go and to promote the sport of bodybuilding, and also to promote health and fitness and exercise and resistance training with the weights and machines and all this throughout the whole world. And that's what I've done. So after I retired from bodybuilding, I went and I wrote 6 books on fitness, and I have done endless amount of videos on training. We did Pumping Iron, the documentary, and we did the book Pumping Iron, and all of those things in order to promote, training, for people to get off the couch and to do something, to exercise and to go out and do something. And so the Arnold Classic Sports and Fitness Festival is part of this fitness crusade around the world. And that's why we have it in all 6 continents. And we have it in North America, South America, Australia, and South Africa, and in Asia, Europe. We have it all over the place. And so it has been really, really successful. And this way, now with the social media especially, we can reach out and reach millions of people. And each time we have an event like that, it inspires millions of more people to go and exercise. And that's what it's all about, is to inspire people and to make everyone train.
So what would be the message that you want to leave first for our athletes here in Brazil, the Brazilian athletes, and also for all the professionals, for professional health, as the trainers, doctors, nutritionists?
Brazilian bodybuilders, for instance, are coming on very strong. I mean, I've never, I've competed, from 1965 to 1975, and I've never really seen any Brazilian bodybuilders during that time to be on a world stage. So now, all of a sudden, you go forward, 4 decades, and now you see the most extraordinary bodybuilders from Brazil. I mean, really unbelievable bodies. So this is, I think, is fantastic. And I think what it means is basically is that Brazil has always been a country that has loved sports. And we have seen the amount of great athletes that they had produced in the history, not just in soccer, but also in other sports. So it's really a great country. I love coming here because it gives me so much energy coming to Brazil,
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Very good. If we go back in time, at age 13 in Austria, you had your first meeting with a barbell when your trainer took you guys to the gym, a local gym. At age 14, you choose bodybuilding instead football, instead soccer as a career. Then you started a big training time to go for Mr. Austria, Kurt Moreau, who invited you to train at his gym. At that time, you also frequently went to local movie theaters to see bodybuilding idols such as Shrek Park, Steve Reeves, and Johnny. What kind of transition in your life those athletes been responsible for you?
Well, I was always very athletic, and I grew up very athletic. And I played soccer, like you said, I participated in track and field and in ice curling in the winter and did the winter sports. But when I went into the weight room in that soccer stadium in Graz, in my hometown, and I saw the guys lifting, I just was so in awe of the strong man lifting that somehow something flipped in my mind and said, you want to be not the fastest soccer player or the guys with the most tricks and technique. You want to be the strongest guy. And so I just fell in love with the weightlifting and started weightlifting. And in the beginning, it was the idea to strengthen the legs for soccer. But then all of a sudden, I got just so into it and so passionate about lifting that I gave up soccer and I started lifting, day and night. I started lifting like 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, so much so that my mother was very concerned about my health because she thought that I was overdoing it. But she was still concerned about me coming home at lunchtime, doing 500 sit-ups on a sit-up board, doing 500 push-ups, and then quickly eating my lunch and going back to school and stuff like that. So she was concerned, but I became a fanatic. And so I think that the weightlifters in the 1961 World Championships in weightlifting in Vienna, Yuri Vlasov and people like that, they had such an impression on me when I watched these guys lift these heavy weights. And then I watched some bodybuilding competitions, and that had such an impression on me. And then I watched the Hercules movies, like you said. I watched Steve Reeves, and I watched Reg Park, and all those guys that were all of a sudden in the movies. And they inspired me also. So, it was like really good. And I think this is the reason why I'm sitting here today. Because they inspired me. And I saw what it did to me and how it fulfilled my life and how it made all my dreams come true. So I want to do the same thing now to millions of other people out there, that to inspire them and to let them know that they should train hard, they should set a goal, they should have a clear vision of where they want to go in life. They should not listen to the naysayers, because there will be a lot of people always around that would say it's impossible, no, can't be done. I heard this my whole life. When I started training, people say this is impossible. Why are you doing this bodybuilding and weightlifting as an Austrian? These are American sports, forget it. And when I said I want to go to America, they said, forget it, there's enough people over there. Why would they wait for you? And when I ran for governor, I remember they said, forget it, this is impossible. You have to first run for mayor or for some lower position. And so my whole life I always heard it's impossible. So I just want to tell everybody, don't listen the no's and it can't be done, it's impossible. All of this stuff, ignore it. Because the important thing is, because like I said, I've heard it all my life. I remember when I wanted to go into the movie business, and I said, after my bodybuilding career, I weighed 250 pounds, and I said to myself, now, wow, I'm ready to play Hercules in the movies. So I went to an agent and I said, I want to get in the movies and I want to be a leading man. And he laughed. And then studio executives laughed. Managers laughed. Everyone in Hollywood laughed. And they said, Arnold, first of all, you weigh 250 pounds. This kind of a body was in 20 years ago when they did Hercules movies. We're not making any more Hercules movies. There's the new idols are Dustin Hoffman and Al Pacino and, a sex symbol like Woody Allen. Well, I said to myself, these are all little guys, right? I said, oh my God, what has happened?
Changed.
So yeah,
Changed a lot.
Changed a lot, exactly. But anyway, I didn't listen. I say to myself, they have a valid point. Yes, those are the big stars of the day in the 70s, but that doesn't mean that I cannot be a star. And I was idolizing Clint Eastwood and Charles Bronson. And they were up there on that ladder. And I said to myself, that ladder looks pretty empty. I think there's room for me up there. And so I analyzed basically what I did in bodybuilding, which was I worked out 5 hours a day. I said to myself, if I now do the same thing and work and the acting for 5 hours, you know, take English lessons, take speech lessons, voice lessons, accent removal lessons, acting lessons, stunt lessons, and all of this stuff. If I work on that, I have to be able to get in there. And sure enough, you know, we did one project came along after the next. There were small projects. And then all of a sudden, I landed the role of Conan the Barbarian.
I saw that.
In the national movie, a studio movie, and it was starring in it. And when Conan the Barbarian came out, it was #1 in the box office. And that's when everything changed, because all of a sudden now people said if we wouldn't have had Schwarzenegger in Conan, we would have had to build one. That's what the director said. So therefore my body was the right body for the time. And then when I did Terminator, Jim Cameron said that if we wouldn't have had Schwarzenegger, it wouldn't have worked, because the Terminator talks like a machine. And he says Arnold naturally talks like a machine. So I don't know if I should have taken it as a compliment or as an insult. I don't know. But the bottom line is that it was great, because now they verified that without my body, they couldn't have done Conan, and without my accent, they couldn't have done Terminator. So therefore, those obstacles, they used to call obstacles, now became an asset. And this is what it is in life. So that's why I say don't listen to the naysayers. You just have to have your clear vision, and you go after that, and you, in a very disciplined way, work hard to get there.
Good. In '66, you had the opportunity to meet your childhood idol, Reg Park, who became your friend and also your mentor. Training in '67, you won the title for the first time, becoming the youngest ever Mr. Universe of age 20. After that, you won 3 more times on the road. What kind of memories do you have from those times?
Well, I tell you that when I was in London at the Mr. Universe contest in 1967, and I won, it was the most unbelievable experience, because here I was looking at these magazines of Reg Park and Steve Reeves and Bill Pearl and Chuck Dellinger and George Eiferman and all these bodybuilding champions. And I kept looking through the magazines, and I said, wow, can you believe this? They're Mr. Universe. Look at, they're holding the Mr. Universe trophy. So I had this dream that I'm going to be there, but you never know. So there was the youngest competitor. And with the age of 20, I win, and I become the youngest Mr. Universe ever. So that was a mind-blowing experience. When I walked out of the theater after I won, it was the first time where I saw hundreds of people waiting there for my autograph. I didn't even know what an autograph was. I had no idea, because I grew up in a little town in Austria, so I didn't know any of this stuff. So they were asking
that
me
they would
to
have
sign
the cell phone for selfies today at that time.
Yeah,
It'd be
I mean,
amazing.
It was like, they asked me to sign something, and give me autograph, and I didn't speak English either at that point. So it was like really wild that they wanted my signature. And they were like, pulling on me and screaming outside, Arnold, 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 and all this stuff. So this was the first time I heard any of this. And so I felt when I went back to the hotel that this may work, my plan and my dream. And so it was kind of like really, I had a tremendous, a profound impact. And it inspired me then to go all out, and then to go for the second Mr. Universe title, and for the third, and for the fourth, and I won 5 times the Mr. Universe contest and Mr. World, and then I competed in the Mr. Olympia, which was the biggest crown, in America, and you had to beat this guy, Sergio Liver, who was the fantastic bodybuilder. And then the first time he beat me, and then the second time I came back, I beat him twice that year. And from then on, I was just, kind of really taking over the bodybuilding sport. So it was really a fantastic experience. And what is more important than anything is that you learn such unbelievable lessons along the way.
As?
Like, for instance, that one, as I already mentioned, is don't listen to the naysayers. But that I felt that, okay, this is a really perfect example. I had a very clear vision of this moment. And this moment became actually a reality. The vision became a reality. And I think that what happens is when you have a clear vision and a goal, it makes it so much fun to work towards that goal. Because so many people in the world, they work, but they don't really do what they enjoy. In America, they did a poll a while back, and they said like 75% of the people don't enjoy their job. Now imagine kind of what a downer this must be, that you go to work every day, but you don't enjoy what you're doing. And so this is why it's so important to pick a goal that you really enjoy, and then the joy of struggling to get there is so much more fun. People always said when they walked into the gym, he says, everyone has a sour face in the gym. Everyone looks kind of like, oh God, I have to do another 500 sets, 500 reps of sit-ups, or oh my God, I have to do another squat and another bench press. And I always kind of like couldn't wait. And I was looking forward to do another set and another rep, because I knew that every set and every rep and every weight that I lifted would get me one step closer to the score. So I was enthusiastic. I couldn't wait to do the next set, whereas they were kind of upset that they had to do the next set. So I think this is a different attitude when you have a goal. So this is why I say to people, I learned this in bodybuilding, have a goal. And this particular idea I've carried on with my movie career. I had a goal of being a leading man, and I saw it very clearly in front of me. And the same thing was when I ran for governor. All of the things that I've done in life, I always had a very clear vision about that. So that's another thing that you learn. But the most important thing that you learn is that life is not just victories. Life is also defeats. You know, as you go along the way, you will fail. And there were many competitions, bodybuilding competitions along the way that I failed, but I got up. And so you learn in sport that it's not about, you know, who fails is a failure. No, the person that stays down is a failure. But the person that fails is not a failure, because if you get up again, then you continue on moving forward. So never ever worry about being a failure. You will fail along the way. We will have problems along the way. But you always get up and you dust yourself off and you continue marching forward. And so this is another thing that I learned is this, you know, there's nothing wrong with failing. Because if you're afraid to fail, then you will cut yourself short, because you're always afraid to create big goals. You know, because you just want to make instrumental goals so that you don't fail. But if you're not afraid to fail, then you pick big goals and you go for it. Yes, you may fail, but you get up again and march forward. And I've failed. It teaches us in sports very quickly, failures are normal. This is part of it. Most people don't talk about failures. They always talk about their victories. But I think it's important to stress, especially to young people and people that they're struggling, that it's okay to fail. The key thing is that you're tough. You get up right away again, dust yourself off, and move forward.
Good. Once you said, for me, life is a constantly begin of hungry. The meaning of life is not simply to exist, to survive, but to move ahead, to go up, to achieve, to conquer. Can you explain us?
Well, I don't like when people, people can do whatever they want, but I don't like it when people just live, kind of to exist. To me, life is, we have given one opportunity to live. So it's one life. And let's assume you're religious and you believe in an afterlife. But it's not going to be the same life, us sitting here, or us pumping iron, or us, being in a movie and starring in front of the camera or something like that. So it's going to be different. We don't know what it is, but it's going to be different. So therefore, I believe that this is only one time we've given a shot like this. And so let's not waste it. This life is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real thing. And every day that goes by is a day gone. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to live this life as rich as possible? Not financially, but rich in experience, rich in the things that you accomplish, rich in a way that you reached out to your community and rattled the cage and said to people, you can do it, come on, let's fight on. Rich in helping the underdog. There's so many ways of where we can really enrich our lives. I call that living. To be really into it and to have so many moments where you can feel great about what you accomplish for yourself and what you accomplish in general, but also what you accomplish for other people. And so this is why I always say I'm always hungry. Because people say to me, when I won Mr. Universe and Mr. World and Mr. Olympia, I said, wow, this must feel good. Now you can sit back and you have accomplished your goals. They almost talked like life was over. I've accomplished my goals and now I can just kind of like slide easy. And I said to myself, I'm so hungry for more.
That's why you have so many fans here in Brazil, because you're always going after something nicer and bigger and more important for not just for you, but for everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to have you here today with us, with Vitafor. And, the first present that you gave us was this interview, but I would love to ask you for a second, if you let me. I know we have a great audience here. Everybody's your fan. I can see many cell phones up, like standing and recording everything that you've been saying till now. Would you mind to us to have, with all the crowd, a big selfie to register this first event of Vitafor with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yes?
My pleasure.
Galera, acabei de conseguir um presente pra gente.
Thank you.